think you ought to know. Do-do-wah-dee-da, Men's Radio. Do-do-wah-dee-da, the place where men and women really speak. Do-do-wah, do-do-do-wah. Oh man, what a show. Do-do-wah-dee-da, it's Men's Radio. Do-do-wah-dee-da, this crazy show is on 3 times a week. Do-do-wah, do-do-do-wah. Now Russ and Phil are there to help with all your cares. We laugh, we cry, we talk like grown-ups do. But if you're sad and low, you won't cost you no dough. Men's Radio, that's the place for you. With Russ, Kane, and Phil Dave.
Nothing like a bit of Tommy Cooper to get you going, that's what I say.
Well, quite. Who doesn't love a bit of Tommy Cooper?
Who doesn't like Tommy Cooper? Who? Oh, first out of the box, welcome to the Men's Radio Station Handicap Stakes here at Ascot, and it's the 12 o'clock, Her Majesty the Queen, and first to show there is Francine Warner in the colours of Mill Hill, on the far side there in the sheepskin noseband and the blinkers.
Well, quite.
Ed Grossman coming up now on the rails. Ed Grossman there in the colours of Loppy Lugs on the Loppy Lugs.
Loppy Lugs?
Oh, God, you probably weren't born. There was when no one... Do you remember there used to be video shops, video clubs and video shops?
Yes.
Remember that?
Blockbusters and such.
And Blockbuster... Very, very underrated band. Sweet, by the way. Yeah,
What?
and there was a place in Edgware called Loppy Lugs.
Oh, actually, now, do you know, now you say it, I don't remember it, but I remember hearing the name from...
Yeah, it was on the corner, and somebody I knew worked there. Say that again, baby.
I remember hearing it from other nostalgic conversations that other members of a certain generation have held.
Shut up. I'm never nostalgic about Edgware. Christ. Jules Silverman, hello to you, Jules, and Linda Dave. I would like to call her Grandma times 2.
I don't think she'd like you to call her that, because
We love you. No, there's nothing worse than being called Grandma and Grandpa. It's absolute crap. Anyway, there we are. Huge show for you. Thank you for tuning in. This is Men's Radio going out live all over the world. And ever we will have people coming in. Michael Verby. Good afternoon, boys. My ex-wife didn't like TC. Tommy Cooper.
Oh,
Well, a good thing you got divorced then, Michael, quite frankly, because you didn't like Tommy Cooper. What the hell were you doing married to her in the first place? Jesus Christ.
terrible.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Who doesn't like it's like I don't like breathing. Well, I shouldn't have married her. Emma Webb, good afternoon. Hi, Em. Ed Grossman, remember Stanmore Video? No, one of the first. No, I don't, I'm afraid. But it was an absolute con. You're too young. But what they did is they opened these shops, said, oh, it's a club, and you have to join. And these were anywhere between like £100 when they kicked off.
Oh,
And they went down to about, I'm serious, about £40. And then you had to rent the videos. What are old pants? Good afternoon from dismal.
Hang on.
What?
They were
What, baby?
how much to join?
They were between 50 and £100. That's how they made their money. Oh, yeah. Then they went out of business. Of course they did.
Well, who could have seen that coming?
Well, they couldn't, and neither could all their hundreds and hundreds and thousands of customers. Paul Claridge, good afternoon from dismal East Croydon. Jeez. Yeah, East Croydon. Dismal. Could be a beautiful summer's day. Dismal. Hello all, says Paul Andrews. Michael. This doesn't sound like a bit of divorce. Michael Verby. Couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, she does like breathing.
Crumbs. Might I just also point out as well, by the way, that to anyone who may have tried just now to listen on mensradiostation.com and for whatever reason heard a repeat of the lovely Dr. Pam Spur, I apologize, but we're back up and running now, and you are most welcome to the Daily Show here on Men's Radio.
So have they heard anything, or I've got to do all the ad-libs all over again?
You absolutely don't have to do all the ad-libs again, because waiting in the digital green room are our first two guests who are very excited about, and we have them on borrowed time, so I insist that we hop right to it.
Phil, get to my age, baby. Everything's on borrowed time. Everything.
Well, I
You're
suppose.
34.
Put it like that,
You haven't
actually.
kicked off yet.
Actually, the fact that you have the courage to go on is absolutely remarkable. Right.
Face.
Waiting in the digital green room is, frankly, is the stuff of legend. I mean,
It's legend.
No, absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to meet Kirsten Giles, the CEO of Medical Alert, but also join her because on her own, just too much. Can't
Are you
handle.
slapping this out or what? Come on, just get them on. Jesus.
Dr. Hilary Jones is also here as well. Oh, yes, it's him. Like, Dr. Hilary Jones.
Christ, that was the most boring introduction I've ever heard in my bloody life. Hello, Kirsten. And Hilary, haven't seen you since Chris Tarrant's last barbecue, so it's very, very lovely to see you. You wouldn't know who I am, but I'm always there. Anyway, welcome to you both. We are thrilled and delighted you're able to join us. When we kicked this off a few years ago, I never thought we'd get the likes of you guys on, but bless you, I really appreciate it. Now, why are you here is the $1 million question. Ladies first. Am I allowed to say that these days, Hilary, without getting arrested? I don't know.
Absolutely. I've just got a girl's name.
Let's go with Kirsten. Kirsten, why have you graced us with your presence?
Well, the Medical Alert Foundation, of which I'm the CEO, as you just explained, has just undertaken some research, which has given us some really interesting data about how we look after ourselves and how we look after others. And we found that 1 in 4 people puts other people's health above their own. And that's, whilst it's wonderful that we're all, we're living in such a kind nation, it is really important that we help people understand that they need to care for themselves first so that they can help others. It's a bit like when you're on an aeroplane and the oxygen masks come down. Put your own on so that you're in a good position to help other people.
That's a very, very good example, because it's absolutely true. And we've had so many guests, and I totally agree with you, because if you're not okay, how are you expected to be able to look after other people? It's quite impossible. And
well, how are you actually that some should remember as well that those who have to look on and see loved ones who are unwell can actually sort of have a knock-on effect. It can affect them as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how are you involved with this, Dr. Hilary?
Well, I mean, I'll give you a personal anecdote. My eldest son, who's a GP, is a type 1 diabetic and has been since the age of 7. Now, he lives a normal, completely normal, healthy life. But there were times when he was at school and when he went to university and went out with his mates and, did all the things that young people do, that I worried that he might have an accidental insulin overdose or a hypoglycemic episode where his blood sugar was down in his boots and he was unconscious and nobody knew why he was confused or unconscious. And I had the peace of mind given to me because I got him a medical ID necklace and bracelet, which meant that even if he couldn't answer for himself, any first responder in an emergency or crisis, anyone could have a look at this this identity, medical identity tag, and make a quick phone call and get up-to-date information on his condition and how best to treat it and how quickly to treat it. And there are so many conditions that would benefit from people wearing something like that. Dementia, for example, where there's a 60% chance that somebody with dementia will wander at some stage and get lost and be in a position of danger. People with epilepsy, people with heart disease, people with severe allergies. Peace of mind is really important right now, and that's one way you can look after yourself and give peace of mind to your loved ones who worry about you that you're okay.
Do you know what? I'd never. The rest of it I understood, and you've made such an interesting point, as you always blooming well do, for heaven's sake, over your decades on TV. Dementia. Now, my mum had dementia for 16 years, and you said, quite rightly, they would wander. I mean, it was a freaking nightmare for 16 years of this. And if she'd have had something like that, that would have been so useful. That I'd have never thought about. I thought about it for medical conditions, and in my head, I never thought dementia. What an absolutely brilliant point.
But
emergency services, the police are delighted when they see this kind of ID because they can quickly get to the root of the problem and help those people out.
But I don't mean to be flippant or indeed horrible, but would someone with dementia necessarily know that they have to keep that sort of thing on, or would they?
Yeah, but you go and see them every day. Phil, please God, this never happens to you, but you go and see them every day. You check up on them, or they're in a nursing home. If they're in a nursing home, that's one thing. But you're going around. If they were at home, you're checking every day, and you make sure that they'd wear it. That would be my guess.
If I can just jump in, Phil.
For a wonder, I was just going to say, if someone goes for a wonder, you wouldn't be able to check it. Is more my point. But anyway,
but she'd be wearing the bracelet.
And to that point, we created a bracelet especially for this as a result of feedback from our members. So we've got a bracelet which is you can't put on without some help, and you can't get it off by yourself. It's called the Forget Me Not. So particularly for that aim, you put it on, it stays on. It's a bit like a wedding ring. It's just there all the time. You can wash in it, sleep in it, and it's there, and you know that they're safe.
And what would it say on this? This is just fascinating. I really didn't know we were going to go down this road, but thank you, because especially for so many people watching and listening all over the world, they've got parents who are getting to a certain age, and that's our demographic. So this is right on point. What would it say on the bracelet, for example, that would be helpful to others?
Yeah, well, it's the members themselves can be involved in that. They decide what they want to have on there, and it can be anything from cognitive impairment. It may say dementia, it may say Alzheimer's, it may simply say call for more details. And we have our 24/7 hotline number is on there, which is an emergency line which you can reach from anywhere in the world. Translates into 100 different languages and dialects, and that would give information on not just what cognitive impairment they have, but also any other conditions they have which may need treating, because sometimes people might wander off and they're on some regular medication that they haven't had for a few hours. That's really important. But most important, if they've wandered, is it will give details of their next of kin, their loved ones, and also an address that the police can take them home to.
So Kirsten, if you could just walk Phil and I through the mechanics of this.
Sure.
Once they phone this 24-hour-a-day hotline, which is brilliant, everything's presumably on a very full database.
Yeah,
and it will come up straight away.
Absolutely. So members control the information that we hold. We hold what they ask us to, what they want us to, and we encourage them and support them to keep it up to date, because that's really important. And that's all there. So the person answering the phone would try and give them what they needed immediately, because often it's an emergency situation. You don't need everything. You only need a few details. And then the rest of it can be emailed. And we do, I think, still fax to people in other parts of the world where, that's the easiest thing for them, as much of that record. And we hold documents as well. So we can hold advanced directives, DNRs, information about implants, any piece of paper which would be useful to help somebody to treat you if you were in a situation where you needed treatment. It's all there. And it's
what about something like NHS number, which of course I believe that NHS numbers are the key to sort of the patient.
Those are on there too. Yeah.
Oh wow, amazing!
It's a terrific idea, and in my sort of ignorance, I hadn't realised it was so all-encompassing. So bravo to you both. I mean, I think that's great. Kirsten, please tell me, you don't telex people with this information still? I can't believe you just said fax.
I'm not sure that we do. So we can. We've got every ability to get it to anywhere.
I'm just kidding.
Some parts of the world. I don't think we use Morse code anymore. I think a few weeks ago we stopped that.
You've got somebody there with flags doing semaphore in your HQ.
Dr. Hilary, just in all seriousness, though, this sort of scheme, this could really stand to save, countless numbers of lives, potentially.
It has done. It's been around for 57 years. Is it 57, Kirsten?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And I don't
understand why it's not better known then. I'm ashamed I've only just heard of it.
Well, there you go. I mean, we really want to raise further awareness. A lot of people are already aware of it, and it's a godsend for them. But we want to raise further awareness because, every day there are new patients diagnosed with all of these conditions, and they would all benefit from having that peace of mind. We're talking about something which is inexpensive and potentially life-saving. So, the more people who join up as members, the more happy doctors we'll have.
That's great. If people want to know more, Kirsten, what are the details?
The best thing is go to the website, which is medicalert.org.uk. There's a wealth of information there, but if there's any questions you have or you need anything more, there's a telephone number, and we've a bank of wonderful member agents who are very, very happy to support existing and potential new members any way they can.
And Hilary, did you say it was 57 years old?
Yeah,
57 years old,
1964.
Good Lord! Wow.
Do you know, there's one line in the research that stands out to me. Though, is the percentage of those who don't have, the way that you put it was, don't have the courage to seek their own medical care, and I do wonder sort of how many people do miss out through fear, through actual fear of going to doctors and asking for professional help, as to whether or not, because I think most of us know by now that with obviously something as serious as cancer, you know, the earlier we catch it, the more treatable it is. But yeah, I do have to wonder just how many people do miss out on either extended or better quality of life for not going to the doctors as soon as there's something amiss, especially now more than ever, now that we seem to think the NHS is just some sort of COVID service.
Sure. Phil, it's a good question. And the answer to it is that too many people fear the consequences of the diagnosis and, of course, the treatment itself. We're on men's radio, and men particularly have this idea that all medical treatments are still medieval and barbaric, and nothing could be further from the truth. Medicine today is sophisticated, comfortable, by and large, and absolutely life-saving and welcome in most instances. You know, men fear, for example, the treatment of prostate cancer. They fear the treatment of prostate cancer more than the prostate cancer itself, and they'd rather sort of ignore it. But actually, if once they get the information, they'll find that things are eminently treatable these days with a minimum of fuss, with no embarrassment these days, and it's all about keeping them healthy and comfortable. So, and it's all about education and a sympathetic manner from your doctor. So if we can encourage those two things and empower people, we'll get there.
How much longer have we got? I know you've got a packed day, the pair of you there. Have we got you for a minute or two?
We've got you for a couple of minutes, so go for it.
Okay. Yeah. I want to ask Dr. Hilary, if I can. We are something like 4.2 million procedures behind schedule on the NHS, and this is something which comes up a heck of a lot with our listeners and viewers. How on earth are they ever going to catch up with themselves?
Well, it's a very good question, because we were understaffed with nurses and doctors even before the pandemic, and we're way behind now. Obviously, it's been necessary to keep people safe with COVID. Remember, at the beginning, in the first two waves, there were a lot of hospitalizations and deaths in care homes as well. So we had to keep people safe. Now, we want to do as much as we can to get rid of the backlog of surgery, people waiting in pain for hip operations and knee operations, people needing urgent treatment for cancer and for heart disease. But the same doctors are going to be treating the same conditions. So we can't magic up doctors. We can't pull them out of a hat. So it is going to take time, and it's going to take prioritization and more resources. So you can throw a lot of money at it, but actually, unless you have more doctors and more specialist nurses, we're going to be behind the schedule for some time. People are going to have to be patient and understanding and not angry, because there's a lot of anger amongst patients right now, and they're taking it out on the wrong people, really.
And of course, the other thing as well is that people will probably be of the mindset, what we were talking about before, right? The sooner one goes to get something treated, the better. Obviously, the longer you leave something and the more complicated it is to treat, actually, ironically, probably gives the doctors more work to actually combat whatever condition it is.
That's right. So, my view is try and help your doctor to help you. It's important.
Yeah. Thank you both so much. I know how busy you are, so I'm not going to get. Well done. 57 years of medical.
I haven't been here 57 years.
No, I didn't assume. Or if you had, up in your attic, there is a portrait that is aging, and it's like magic.
Russ, right. I have one question for you.
Go on.
When were you last in a light aircraft?
2004.
Long time ago.
Long time ago. 1984 to 2004. Can you believe it? 20 years.
You miss it?
No.
I can imagine.
I miss the camaraderie.
Yeah.
I miss my pals. I don't miss the physical environment at all.
No.
At all.
You're up there in a 4.7 in a Cessna, probably no
precisely. It was
exactly,
deeply unpleasant. But hey, that's showbiz. Listen, thank you both so much. An absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
They're so nice. What a fantastic that thing is. Had you really never heard of Medical? I'm serious. I'm not being sarcastic or trying to be clever. You never heard of it?
I don't think I heard of Medic Alert. I knew about the bracelets, but I didn't realize if that's the brand.
Yeah.
Is
That's
that
the brand?
is that
That's the brand.
Oh, see.
Yeah,
So
that's
okay,
the
no,
brand.
I know of the bracelets, but I didn't know what they were called. You see,
Yeah,
so I
Medic Alert.
think that's the
It's
problem.
a bloody good idea. You know?
I've been, I think, quite lucky in the sense that my family have not needed to wear such things. And so as a result of it, I'm not necessarily overly familiar with, but I've seen, I think they sell them even in pharmacists as well, actually. They sell them bracelets.
They do, absolutely.
Yeah,
Hi, Penny Horner.
Oh.
Wow, what a great start to the show. Fab guest. Thanks, Pen. Dave Sleet of A&A.
Honest, but I just turn up. But
yeah, right. Don't. Psychological support needs to be woven into response. Yeah. I normally always agree with everything you say, Dave, because you've got a brain like a freaking planet, and I don't pretend. So I do. I know what I'm good at. And I'm not professional like you are, but yeah. But it's the thing is, look at this. Oh, they're diabetic, or oh, they're epileptic, or something like this. It's important that those things. The psychological support. I don't know how we're ever going to play catch up with that. It's a huge issue. And have you noticed, Phil, over the months and months and months of the pandemic, every time we bring up this, and you were the first person, I take no credit for this, you were the first person to say the side effects of this COVID are going to be bloody awful. And you meant the psychological side effects and the economic side effects. And you were the first person to say that. God knows when that was, I think March, year and a half ago.
Look, I think we were still in the studio, and I said that I was worried about it, and I have to be honest with you, because I believe that the biggest problem we've got is that, and this is going to sound like a very depressing thing to say, so please don't lose heart, anyone, because I really don't mean this, but we need to grow up and realize it. I believe that the actual virus is just the start of it. We then have to worry about the psychological recovery. We then need to worry about the number of people who are just senselessly going to die needing help from the NHS because they weren't able to play catch up with it.
Totally.
We then need to worry about the number of individuals who are going to take their own life because they can't face whatever COVID has done to ruin their livelihoods. All of these thoughts that just went through my mind straight away, and I thought, if you're seriously telling me that the consequences of COVID are worse than all of that put together, then I stand by any decision. But I still wholeheartedly believe it is not. I have no proof of this, but I believe logic would tell you more people are going to lose their lives to something that is not COVID related. And actually, it was even Professor Chris Whitty, who right at the very start of it, when one of those Downing Street briefings, he was the one who said, we do need to weigh up whether or not the consequences of COVID are worse than the consequences of indirect COVID. In other words, people who have had their lives affected as a result of it, but not by it.
An impossible decision to make. Impossible. And I thank the Lord that that fate hadn't bestowed upon me, hey, Russ, you got to make the decision. I could, what the hell? Now, just changing the subject for a sec. I mean, I love these random messages. Ed Grossman, and Ed, I don't normally disagree with you. You're wrong. I know, because my dad joined a VHS video thing that was somewhere near Brent Street or somewhere. So there was joining fees, I can assure you. He now says, Russ, I just got an NHS text inviting me to book a shingles vaccination. Wow, who knew? Shingles vaccination. Blimey. So, Ed, did you have, God forbid, a history of that? Is this some new thing that just made up? I don't know. Chrissy Richards from Go On, play it if you got it. Might as well.
I'm off to sunny Spain. Hey, viva España.
Hi, boys.
You
In the sun today.
God.
In bed all afternoon. Tuna salad today. Caught the gas man at 10 a.m.
Poor bastard.
Good Lord. When you say you caught him.
Yes, I just caught him doing, hang on a minute. She caught the gasman at 10 a.m. and she's in bed all afternoon. You dirty cow.
Was he firing on all
That's where we're at. I don't blame you. Have you told your other half? Is he out in the fields toiling in 40 degrees heat?
Do you know what Paul Andrews has said here? And actually, I think we should address this because I believe it's already been answered by no less than Dr. Hilary himself. But he says, it wasn't the time or the subject, and I avoided being controversial and asking why Dr. Hilary was on GMB in March last year explaining that masks had no effect. There was no point of wearing them for COVID protection. I'm no foil hatter, but I just wondered how he squares those comments in hindsight. I'm assuming our knowledge of the virus has changed since, or maybe masks have a bigger psychological effect than a physical one, i.e. it reminds people to take care. So
Really
Paul,
good
I
point.
believe he has
Good point.
actually. No, but I believe he has addressed this, because there have been others who as well were questioned saying, well, hang on, why did you say that? And you may remember actually that last year towards March, the way in which they thought the virus was transmitted, they didn't believe initially that it was airborne. They believed that it was all through germs, which is, you remember why they kept saying, wash your hands.
Wash, yeah.
Yeah, when they thought it wasn't an airborne virus, that's why they were saying masks had no effect. Then when they learned a bit more that it was airborne, that's when the narrative changed. So I agree, but honestly, that has been addressed before. But I'm not surprised that anyone would forget that, because honestly, we've been so bombarded with information about this as we've gone along. Who the heck can remember all of it? But that is the reason why. So.
Diane Taylor, I have an emergency ice card. No, probably not. I have an emergency ice card in my purse, which informs people of my primary contacts. I also have a child with special needs that might need help too if I'm indisposed. I get that. Do you think people sound stupid? If you've got the bracelet, look, I'm not involved with the bracelet company, so I've got no skin in the game, as they say. If you've got the bracelet, it's kind of very visible. Is somebody going to go through the purse? And has it ever been useful? Diane, let me know. I'd be really very interested. Oh, Ed Grossman, regarding the shingles vaccination. No, he's got no history of shingles. He just got a text out the blue. Blimey. Chrissy Richards, I think she's got this poor sod of a Spanish gas man trapped in her bedroom. He's a lovely young man.
Yeah, can you just go and have a look at the boiler? It's in the basement.
It's in the basement next to the handcuffs.
Yeah.
And the rope.
Can I just ask, actually, Ed, in all seriousness, I take it this is a legitimate text from the NHS and not a hoax or anything. I don't know why it would be a hoax. I don't know how they could get anything out of it, but I'm just not of interest. But
never heard of that. They were just saying, do you want to have shingles vaccinated? You don't want shingles. Jesus, that's awful. Paul and
love it. Veronica Karen, I'm out doing the food shopping and just sang out that Viva out loud. Good work.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Phil, not a hoax. Okay, that's good. Paul Andrews, yes, we should all have an ice app on my mobiles with all the medical and contact is. I agree. Paul, how do we get over the fact that the phones are locked? I agree with you. I actually have next of kin on mine, so they can phone.
Allow me to show you. If you press... Oh, there you go.
What the hell was that? So you got a drill built into your phone?
If you press the hang on a second. If you press the if you press the power button several times in succession, it's supposed to call up medical ID when it's actually just called an emergency services. So I've had to cancel that quite quickly. Anyway, let's not dwell on that too much because that was almost embarrassing. Right.
Yeah. What do you do for a real living? Oh, tech. Okay. Julie McDermott, changing. Chrissy, as much as how you power your farm is of great interest, I'm just not going to read that. I'm just not going to read that out. Bless you. Julia McDermott.
Oh, there we go. I knew there was something. Right.
Hilarious.
Okay, with smartphones, I knew there was something. If you hold down the power button and the volume button as if you're going to turn an iPhone off, can you see it comes up with three options? One's power, one's medical ID, one's emergency SOS. So you don't have to worry if the phone is locked. You do the medical ID, and then it comes up with medical information on the phone.
Do not force feed holler. Give whiskey. Is that what it's got on yours?
Oh, do you know what? I seriously, if I see
whiskey, what have you got on yours? What have you got on yours?
I've just got my date of birth and my age. There's nothing more to it. I can't.
Exciting. What are they going to do if it doesn't matter?
You're saying about do not feed holler or whiskey. I've got to tell you, at the moment, I'm dry this week. I cannot deal with it after the weekend. Shocking. Seriously.
You're still suffering.
I'm not still suffering, but I've just been put off because I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm actually going to give myself a dry week because, I've already said before I love a daily tipple, but I'm not going to do the daily tipple because I completely and utterly overindulged at the weekend, as I've openly declared on this program. And frankly, I don't think that I need any more this week, so I shall.
I like to think it's the two of us. You're like the Ace Frehley, and I'm more the Gene Simmons. And I think that's how this relationship is working. Julie McDermott, that means nothing to Phil whatsoever, but others will get it. Julie McDermott, changing the subject, I watched the last 5 years last night. About the last 5 years, obviously, of David Bowie. Like Freddie Mercury, he kept his illness from the public until he died 2 days after his 67th
He got very
birthday.
far.
What?
She couldn't have got very far in if she only watched it last night.
In 5 years? Yeah. Well, maybe she's not of this planet. We've met her. She could have superhuman powers.
Maybe.
I always remember that Kenny Everett kept his illness. Excuse me, kept his illness, who I work with, and he kept his illness. But unfortunately, and this is where the media sucks, they have people in all the hospitals and in all the police stations on the payroll. In other words, if a celeb comes in, let us know and we bung you whatever they're going to bung them. And I know that Kenny Everett was actually in real life a very private and very quiet and delightful person, nothing like his on-screen personality. He was a very different fellow. And of course, he was dobbed in by someone at the hospital. They probably left many, many years ago. And that's how the press got onto it. Yeah. Oh dear, Julie McDermott, I feel your pain, Phil. Oh.
Went out for my birthday this weekend, still suffering, very tired. Julia,
very tired and emotional.
With you all the way. I don't recall seeing you at Whiskey Club, but don't worry, we won't hold that against you. It's fine.
Diane Taylor, within the card holder, I also have my medical letter. Oh, brilliant. Explaining my history of medications, which I take, and contact of my daughter's carer. Oh, gosh, Diane, what a life, eh? Bless you. The last time I needed paramedics and before passing out completely, my God, I was able to tell them where to find all the information they needed, which was easily found in one place. That is so sensible. So sensible.
So, just
my dog has got more of a chance of surviving than I have if anything happens to me out on the street.
Can I just say, changing the subject for a matter of seconds very quickly before we get to our next guest, I wanted to say something that is not necessarily public knowledge as such, so I'm not going to go into too much detail.
Oh, my God.
I decided...
You're running off with Julia Hartley Brewer.
That's the one. I decided on Monday that I'd reached critical mass. Now, this doesn't...
Well, you put on a couple of pounds, but I won't go on about it.
But I can't say that that's ever happened to me before, because I've always thought I must make time for everything and everyone. If anyone asks me to do something, I should be flattered. I should just say yes and get on with it and never ever think about it. But I wrote a couple of emails on Monday informing various people that I work with that I will no longer be working with them, not because I don't want to.
Oh, well, thanks a lot, and thanks for your contribution. Bye.
The point is that I realized that I needed to get some hours back in the day for me.
Of course you do. And I've been telling you this for blooming months.
To realize that. But
no, you've got to understand, Phil and I do speak to each other. We don't just speak to each other here. And, I've been saying to him for ages, look, man, you're going to drop. You're younger than my kids, but you're going to drop. There's only so much the human body can do and take. You've got to be careful.
Yeah. So it's a bizarre feeling, actually, because I already feel like the load's lightened a little. Yeah.
But it's good for up here. It's good for up here. And a lot of things, and I'm not going to ask you what the things are that you're dropping, but mercifully not men's radio, is this, you know.
Jokes. Anyway.
But that's the contingency as well. I'm grown up about it, for God's sake. But the thing is this, and this is general. It's not just Phil. It's for everybody. And I do it with myself. I think, do I want to be doing this? This is a lot of work. Is there anything at the end of it? Is there, is it appreciated? Is it helping? Or am I just doing extra work? And it's not appreciated, and these are things. Phil does a hell of a lot of stuff. I'm not going to go into it now, but Phil does a hell of a lot of stuff, and they're not always the most polite about dealing with it, you know. And I think with volunteers, people take the piss. I honestly think people honestly take the piss. If you're getting paid for something, it's a different kind of mental attitude. When you're volunteering, there's no money involved. I think people take advantage, and I think that's a rotten thing to do. I think it's a rotten thing to do. Yeah, Paul Andrews, has the hidden camera footage of Phil and Julia Hartley been released? It has. I've seen it. Hasn't been released. It's in the lift. I was quite surprised. I'll be honest. I was quite surprised. And then Dawn Neeson arrived and made it a threesome. I thought, bloody hell, you're only going up 2 floors. What's going on there?
I would like to stress, in the interest of total transparency and the fact that I really don't want to get my neck wrung, that I don't know what the heck you lot.
Very scary.
Anyway, right.
Bloody scary.
Hang
on 1 second. This is important. Ed Grossman, Russ, I carry an organ donor card. Well done, you. I think that's how you are. That's good.
Oh, Ed, have a heart. Thank you. Anyway, right. So, now, waiting in the digital green room. All right, too soon. Anyway, waiting in the digital green room.
You want some mashed potato with the liver? Oh, for God's sake.
Do you deliver? No, you have to pick up. We have. I can keep going until I find one you like. I don't care.
Thank you, friends. I'm here all week.
Waiting in the digital green room. We have social and behavioural psychologists. She's going to have a field.
She's here just in time, I'll tell you that.
Dear. Honey Lancaster James joins us on the Daily Show. Honey, we can't actually see your camera at the moment, so hopefully you'll be good enough to turn that on for us so we can see you, but we can certainly hear you.
Hello. I'm here. I'm struggling with the technology. I'm kind of trying to figure out how to get in there.
Oh, well, don't you worry. You are here.
In my life.
The Daily Show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Now, the first things first. Honey, is that your real name? It's fantastic.
It is.
How did Mum and Dad come up with Honey? It's brilliant. I love it.
You know, it was a thing they used to do in the 70s. I'm giving away my age now, but hippie parents, they got married barefoot in the park, and then I came along.
Is your middle name Moon Unit?
No, so they didn't even give me a middle name because they knew that people would avoid using my first name, I think. And
it's Honey Manuka.
I do have to say though that it does make situations now where we're meeting you for the first time terribly over familiar. So you must
completely shocking.
Anyway.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I'm so sorry. But thank you very, very much for joining us. I was tweeting you this morning.
Pleasure.
So that's great. Now tell
HLJ,
us.
as well for you. You are here for a very important reason, and that is the importance of asking for help. Now, I think this couldn't be more appropriate for what we do on Men's Radio if we tried. Forever we are saying to people that, well, we just want them to realise, frankly, that's a really important and very difficult start, to realise there is something amiss and that you actually do need to ask for help.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think, well, certainly this comes off the back of a new survey that's been released by BT. And they found that 56% of us are experiencing kind of greater vulnerability since the pandemic. And those kind of, when they broke that down and looked at what it was, ranged from mental health problems, physical health problems, financial circumstances, employment problems and concerns, lots of different areas of life that have been affected, that have led to people feeling more vulnerable. And, you know, certainly I think there are certain sort of generations that find it quite difficult to ask for help sometimes. They found actually 63% of all Brits said that they would be too embarrassed to sort of ask for help, which is really worrying. It's really concerning, and so I wanted to get involved with this.
So, honey, when they say, I find ridiculous saying, "Hey, honey," I know it's freaking me out a little bit.
You'll get used to it.
It's all right. I'm going to say Ms. Lancaster James. That sounds better. Since I'm not trying to chat you up. When they're too embarrassed to ask for help for a doctor, family member, what? Drill down a little bit for us.
Well, so it's more about sort of having different areas of your life that you maybe find difficult. I mean, BT obviously looked at this from the point of view of connectivity. I think one of the things that obviously has come from the pandemic.
I'm sorry, the reason I'm laughing is because the running gag on Men's Radio is the appalling nature of my internet. You can guess who my provider is. So I'm loving the fact that it's all about communication, because the number of times it's let me down. Anyway, moving on.
That's what they were obviously looking at, because what they wanted to do was see whether people feel able to get connected. I mean, after everything we've been through, that's more important than ever. And obviously what's come out of this is that there are a number of things that we don't think about that can be a barrier to people to getting connected. So for some, it might be a disability, that they might have accessibility needs. Maybe someone is affected by hearing loss or hearing difficulties. And so they have a number of different services that people aren't always aware of that they do. And so what they've done is they've built this new area on their website. It's called Here For You on the bt.com website. And basically it gives you all these different signposting and different kind of rundown of the different services you can access if you've got certain needs. So if you have got problems with hearing, for example, you can do BSL video calling, where you can literally have an intermediary to do British Sign Language for you. If you're someone who struggles, these are all things that existed, but people don't know about.
And that's the problem, isn't it? That's exactly the problem, is that people don't know where to find help.
Exactly. And a lot of people as well just struggle to get themselves set up with technology for whatever reason, maybe an elderly person or someone who's got a disability. And so they have a service called Home Tech Experts, where they will literally send someone out to your house. They'll book you in for an appointment, they'll come to your house and they'll plug everything in for you and set it all up for you, which I just think is a brilliant service that people don't know about. And then there's one that really speaks to anybody who's affected by kind of financial difficulties. So for anyone who's on universal credit, or there's a number of other means tested benefits that qualify, you can actually get half priced connectivity services like broadband and calls that, again, people just don't know about. And I think it's all of these different things that organizations like BT are doing to address the needs of their customers. But what's missing is that people don't necessarily open up about their problems. They don't want to ask if there's any kind of way that they can get help because of that embarrassment. So that's why they've put Here For You together, so that people can go to that area and go, okay, does this apply to you? Does this apply to you? And if it does, there's lots of different things that are there to help. And I think that's why we need to be willing to open up with each other about what our difficulties are. But of course, there are barriers to that. We don't always know how people are going to respond when we say we've got a particular need, or we're having financial problems, or we've got a disability, or whatever. So another thing that BT have done is they've actually introduced training for, I think it's about 12,000 of their customer service operators are now being trained in good listening skills, empathy, showing curiosity as well, so that when you call, you actually feel like you're being treated like a human being. And that's a great thing. I think we all need that from the services that are out there, especially if we're going to be encouraged to open up about our problems.
Isn't it sad, though, that someone has to be trained in that now? I mean, I'm to call me old fashioned, but and this is absolutely, by the way, hats off to BT for actually taking this initiative, for doing it. There is no way you'd knock that. But
no downside to it.
That the day and age we live in, it means that people have to be trained in listening to someone.
Well, I think maybe I've been a bit simplistic about that. I think it's more than that. I think it's about particular sensitivities. So, for example, people with particular disabilities want to know that they can talk about that without having someone respond in a way that feels insensitive to them, or, those things. So there's a lot bigger aspects to that. But I agree. But I think it's important, though, because otherwise what you tend to find is that, you feel like you're just speaking to another body, or even another robot. So it's important that services do start to treat us as human beings, because when we're going to speak about what our vulnerabilities are, we want to know that they're going to be responded to in a compassionate and empathic way.
There's two things that are really, really important well, it's never going to be post-pandemic because I think it's here forever, but we will just learn to cope with it. Number one, which clearly BT are doing, but you have highlighted, is signposting. Signposting is becoming so important because people don't know where the hell to start. Once they're shown, people go, oh, okay, I get it. I can follow this through. It's not rocket science. It's all right. But it's the daunting prospect of not knowing where to even look.
Yes.
And so signposting is a very important thing. And the other thing is people are sick of multinationals, the giant corporations, treating them like trash. They're sick of it. They do not want to be a number. You know, I'm not a number, I'm a free man. They want human interaction. And especially because we've been in lockdown for, you know, let's say 18 months, our lives have been turned upside down. Our working methods are never going to come back to what they were. Neither will life. It'll resume, but it won't be the same. And so to be treated as a human being is so important.
I agree completely. Important.
No,
I agree completely. We're hungry for it. We need it. We need human
connection. You're a psychologist. And I wrote an article last week, and people like Tesco's and other people, I understand why, but they're getting the move is to get away from people behind the tills. And I wanted to ask you this because it's about interaction. And I wrote in the article, you know, for some people, especially the elderly on their own, that 30 seconds at the checkout at a supermarket might be the only human interaction they're going to have that day. And it's kind of important. Now, I know supermarkets are not social services. They're there for the bottom line. They don't really give a good goddamn as long as the share price is all right. I understand that. I live in the real world. But where do you stand? Where do you stand on that? Or do you think I'm just being very old-fashioned?
What, what do you mean? What, in terms of when somebody is in need of that social connection, you mean? Yeah, I think we do need it. We all need it. And we need to be looking out for those people in our communities and in our nearest and dearest as well. I mean, in our families and our friends. I mean, you talked about signposting. I think that's one of the things that's really important as well, is to let our friends and family know that they're not alone and point out resources to them or services or things that they might not be aware of, and not be embarrassed about doing that. There's no shame in sort of saying, look, I heard you lost your job. I've heard about this great thing where you could save some money. Why don't you go and check it out? Or, you know, I know you're having problems with your hearing at the moment. Did you know you could do this? I think we need to get braver about having those conversations and initiating them, because a lot of the time people thank us for starting the conversation and feel like you've seen them and you've got that they've got a difficulty. So I would never be reluctant to sort of open up that conversation because you're maybe not sure of the right words. People will genuinely appreciate your efforts.
As a psychologist, what do you think people think is the worst that's going to happen to them if they reach out?
I think people just feel that there's a kind of embarrassment and a humiliation in having needs. And I think people tend to feel like if they do identify and say to someone, I've got a need, or I'm a bit vulnerable at the moment, that somehow reflects badly on them, or that it makes them look weak or whatever. And actually, I'd say it's the opposite. Someone being able to come forward and sort of say, I'm struggling at the moment, or my mental health isn't great, or I've got a problem. Actually, that's a level of bravery in itself. So you're sort of already, I think, really showing that you've got nothing to be embarrassed about. So I would definitely encourage people to have those conversations with people that they trust.
To widen it out just a little bit more, but as you're here, one of the things Phil and I hear so many times from guests, both experts and people who've been at the suffering with members of the family, is they all say, we never knew. We never knew. Especially with suicide. We never knew. We didn't know there was a problem. Why didn't they say something? And, you know, that's the ultimate not reaching out, isn't it? That's the horror of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you know, speaking to men out there in particular, we know that rates are higher for them because often it is harder to reach out and to speak to someone. And I think that is key. I mean, you know, that is 100%. We should all be encouraged, really, no matter who you are, no matter what your problem is, no matter whether you're, CEO or whatever, your problems are real and you deserve to have them listened to. And obviously anybody listening who might be affected by that should definitely see their GP or a mental health professional in the first instance, but also just talk to someone you trust.
Excellent stuff. Hanny Lancaster James, thank you so much for joining us on The Daily Show. We really appreciate your time and efforts. Thank you very much. And thank you for all you do.
Oh, pleasure. Well, thank you for having me. And just to encourage your listeners as well, if you, particularly around connectivity, if you've got any vulnerabilities yourself, do check out Here For You on the BT website, because there's some great resources there.
Excellent stuff.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye. Good gracious me. There you go. Who knew? Well, I think we've learned a whole new side of BT today. That's for sure.
Still got shit internet.
Yep. Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, right.
Here's the thing. Now, Ed Grossman's. Let's see. This I didn't want to say, Ed. I'll be honest with you, because I don't like if someone's come on as a guest. I don't want to be confrontational. I won't dodge the issue, but if they come on for a specific reason, I don't want to then try and ambush them. That's a BBC trick, and I won't do that shit. I just won't do it. Now, here's an interesting point from Ed. Beware, and I wonder what everyone else thinks about this. I'm not taking this as gospel. I'm reading the comment. Beware, reaching out re mental health to a social worker or a policeman can get you sectioned. It happens. I don't know.
Never heard.
I'm not going to comment. Yeah, I don't know what that. Paul Claridge, do you want to read this one out, Philip?
How very kind. Paul Claridge says, in my job, handing out newspapers outside a train station, I often find that older and disabled customers only come to collect a paper as they like to stop and have a chat with you.
Of course.
For some, I know that I'm the only person they would talk to that day. I never dismiss them, and I always have time to chat. And Paul, that is the mark of what a remarkable individual you are. That's why we appreciate you, sir.
We do, and it's true. That's why I wrote what I wrote in the article. That when I'm in a queue, and some little old lady is yakking, people behind me, oh, for Christ's sake, I'm thinking to myself, in 20 years, 50 years, it's going to be you. Shut up. It's an extra 30 seconds on your day. Get over it. Now, this is interesting from Martin Allen, who's got experience with this. If you admit you're vulnerable, this is so awkward. If you admit you're vulnerable, this will allow some nasty people to abuse this. So it's easier not to open up than take the risk of being put into a darker place. That is a very contentious. Now, you've had personal experience of this, Martin, I know, so I'm not going to say, oh, that's not right, because in your case, it was right. But it's very difficult. Chrissy Richards, when I lost my son, oh, Chrissy, I'm sorry. I know you've mentioned it before, and I am sorry. There was a woman who ran a shop that believed in angels. I talked to her for hours. It helped me. It wasn't loopy, but very good. When feel down, I talked to a stranger. Look, I don't, but it helped you, and that's all that matters. So my view, or Phil's view on this, it's you can believe in it, not believe in it, think it's nonsense, think it's wonderful. It gave you comfort, it helped you, and a tragic loss. So that's all there is to be said about it. It's a wonderful thing, right? Ed Grossman's coming back at you, Phil. Phil, check it out. And Britney Spears. Well, that's all about the money. It's all about the millions, which
I'm not saying I don't believe. I'm just saying I've never heard of it. So it's I'm merely saying it's interesting. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah. Chrissy Richards says she's a good listener. Yeah. Please let the gas man go. He's a young guy. He's probably got people worried about him. You've had him trapped in your basement, handcuffed to the pipes since this morning. It's about time you let him go. Stephen Marsh, I got to read this out because our last guest was called Honey. Don't get caught in any gales.
I see what he did there.
Oh, come on, that's a sweet gag. Juliet McDermott, earlier comment. I work for myself and try to take Friday afternoons off for myself. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. I mean, I found it's got to like 8 o'clock at night, and that's the first break I can take for myself, and that's when I take the dog out. So that's beginning to get on my nerves a little bit. To be honest with you. You can do it for a while. You can't keep doing it.
Well,
it catches up with you. It catches up with you. It's caught up with me, I know. Now, Britney Spears, it's not a fair example, Ed. That's all about the millions. That's all about the millions. Try to secure that. Plus, she was in a very, very dark place. And probably going to harm herself, though. Interesting. Oh, here we go. Ramsey. Philip, you please read this.
I used to stop and chat with the big issue seller near my office a few years ago when I worked in an office between Charing Cross and Trafalgar Square. One day I told him I was off for a new job and at an interview for a new role. He wished me luck and I got the job. There you go, Ramsey.
Very good. It's a sort of tenuous thought logic train, but that's good. Rosemary Jessup, when you have horses and rescue animals, there are no days off. Blooming right. Got Minnie Schnauzer, there's no days off. She's not speaking to me at the moment. I gave her a bath last night.
Oh, you
it always makes it, well, because I just cleaned the sofas and the carpets with a professional carpet cleaner that I got borrowed, right? And I thought, well, the only other thing that needs cleaning, you know who. It always leads to a little bit of discord. A little bit of a broigus. Oh, yes, this is Ed Grossman. Absolutely right. Russ, I think a nod to the England team is in order. They're as uplifting and they're not taxed. Absolutely. I'm sorry. It slipped our minds. Quite right. Blooming well done. 2-0. Fabulous. Fabulous. I only do that because I, stringently avoid doing blokey stuff, like sport and cars, unless it really takes my fancy and tickles me. But it was great. It was great. I knew they'd win because I bet for, do you want the truth? I bet for Germany to win. I thought Germany.
Oh, what?
No, I thought Germany would win. So I put quite a big bet on Germany. I thought Germany was going to win. But I've never been so happy as to lose money. In all seriousness, do you know what? I don't mind admitting this. I welled up. I got really, really I don't even like football. I got terribly emotional.
I'm not surprised. You just lost a whole lot of money, you idiot.
Well, yeah, idiot indeed. But I've never been so happy as to lose money. I was really pleased. I'd much rather have lost the bet. Which is my new little hobby. But it was great. It was absolutely wonderful and very uplifting. If you think, I know people are going to get technical about it, but really for us, it's 1966. And yeah. Paul Claridge, can I ask? I can answer this question straight away. Does Phil? No, he never does. Ever, ever, ever. Never. This is as casual as Phil gets.
I tell you what, Paul, just to prove this theory, I don't actually own a pair of jeans. There's a thought for you.
I only wear jeans. That's all I wear. Because I'm always doing stuff. So I'm either sitting writing or I'm walking the dog. So that's kind of it. So I always wear jeans. Russ, betting's a full game unless you work for Procter and Gamble.
See what it is
Stephen, why did you become an accountant? You could have been a script writer. Why on earth did you do that? Ramsey says Phil only wears casual when his butler has the day off. Phil doesn't have a butler. He has a valet. Phil is the smartest dressed person I think I've ever met. Ever. I have never, ever seen him looking anything but immaculate. Extraordinary. It doesn't matter what whatever the temperature is, the jacket stays on. Jacket, cravat stays on. Cool as hell. Chrissy Richards, good show today. Thanks, Chrissy. Glad Germany got beat. Just glad Germany got beat. The stage leaves. Presumably, that's the Stephen Marsh. You ought to be on the stage. There's one leaving in half an hour. The legend of Tommy Cooper lives on. There we go. It's been an interesting show today. I was thrilled to get Dr. Hilary on. I thought when the opportunity came, I thought, wow, yeah,
Only a fool would say no.
Yeah, but don't give up on your dreams. Obviously, I'm not going to be driving for Ferrari in Formula One. That's the dream that's never going to happen. But don't give up on your dreams. When we kick this off, I didn't think we'd be getting guests like that. And it's exciting, It's exciting. I like it. It fills me back with enthusiasm and the love of it all.
Can you just believe it? The next time you and I meet will be for another 3-hour Friday show. That's how quick
this is true. Although I love this. You should see Phil on the disco dance floor like a young John Travolta.
Actually, I'll have you know, Mr. Claridge, that I can do a killer night fever. I'm just saying.
I've never seen Phil dance.
I know.
This is something and you're never going to see me dance. That's for sure. My cousin Francine has seen me dance.
Oh.
That's it.
Do you do the old dad dance thing? Do you?
My dancing stopped when I was 12. I've never improved.
I
bet he's giving your T-shirt to his dog.
Maybe. Thank you very much indeed. By the way,
Oh my God.
And thank you very much as well to Kristen Giles as well. And we also have to say thank you to Honey Lancaster James. For some stupid reason, the jingle's not working, so we'll see you Friday.
Pedal fast.